Dear children, good morning to all. Today we are going to discuss about spinal cord and reflex action. We already know the classification of the brain. That means the brain is classified into forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain like that you did. Okay. So the hindbrain consists of three parts. One is the cerebellum, second one is the spinal cord, and third one is the pons varorum. Today in this class, we are going to discuss about spinal cord and their function. That means reflex action. So first, we want to know about the spinal cord. Spinal cord. The spinal cord, this one is called the spinal cord. Okay, the spinal cord is here long. The spinal cord is here long as well as slender and cylindrical nervous tissue. Cylindrical nervous tissue. The spinal cord is here long, slender, cylindrical nervous tissue. It is protected by the vertebral cord. It is protected by the vertebral cord. Protected by the vertebral cord. Vertebral cord. So the center, no, this one is spinal cord. The center only one is the spinal cord. The spinal cord is one of the long, slender, cylindrical nervous tissue. It is protected by the vertebral cord. At the same time, the spinal cord is covered by membrane. That also three membrane covered on the surface of the spinal cord. Three membrane covered on the surface of the spinal cord. The membrane only, I already told in the last class, membranes only otherwise called the meninges. Membranes only otherwise known as what? Meninges. So the spinal cord is surrounded by the three meninges, like a brain. The brain also covered by the three meninges. You know already. One is the outer membrane is known as the dura mater. The middle membrane is known as the arachnoid membrane. That is arachnoid matter. And the inner membrane, the inner layer is known as the pia mater. Like that, as a brain, the spinal cord also covered by the three membrane. This spinal cord extends from the brainstem. The spinal cord extended from brainstem. Do you know what is brainstem? In the last class I explained about the brainstem. The brainstem is the part of the brain between spinal cord and the diaphragm. Brainstem is between what? Spinal cord and diaphragm. Okay. See the brain. What is brainstem? That is one of the two mark question. The brainstem is the part of the brain between the spinal cord and diaphragm. This midbrain only consists of this brain. That means the brainstem consists of midbrain, pons varorum, and medulla brain. Do you understand? In the last class we studied about the brainstem. Okay. So this brainstem only extends. That means the spinal cord extended from the brainstem into the vertebral canal of the vertebral column. It is known as the vertebral canal. It is called the vertebral column. Okay. Do you understand? The spinal cord extended from the brainstem into the vertebral canal of the vertebral column up to the level of first and second lumbar vertebrae. This vertebrae only known as the lumbar vertebrae. Up to here, first and second lumbar vertebrae. Up to here, the spinal cord extended from the base of the brain. This is present in the inside of the vertebral column. Do you understand? So the spinal cord extended from where? The spinal cord extended from the brainstem into the vertebral canal of the vertebral column. That also up to the level of first and second lumbar vertebrae. The lumbar vertebrae is present in the hip region. Okay, the first and second, up to the first and second lumbar vertebrae. Okay, so below the lumbar vertebrae, the nerve roots of remaining nerves. The nerve roots of the remaining nerves are greatly elongated to exist in the vertebral column and their appropriate space. It extends. This thick muscle, elongated muscle bundle, that is a nerve root within the lower vertebral column, that is called the chorda. That is called the chorda equina. Chorda equina. Very important one. Read question on this one. cauda equina. After the lumbar vertebrae, first and second, the nerve roots are greatly elongated to exist in the vertebral column in the appropriate space. In this space, it is elongated and existing outside. The thick bundle of this elongated nerve roots, that is in the lower vertebral column. We can see that in the lower vertebral column, we can see the thick bundle of the elongated nerve roots. That is called the cauda equina. So it looks like a horse tail. It looks like a horse tail. Horse tail. That appearance is like a what? Horse tail. So only this is called the horse tail part. Cauda equina is otherwise known as a horse tail because below the lumbar first and second vertebrae, the nerves are very thick and looks like a elongated bundle like nerve roots. So it is present in the lower vertebral column. Okay, sir. Lower vertebral column. That is called the cauda equina, or otherwise known as what? Horse tail. So the cauda equina is known as what? Horse tail. Because that appearance is like a horse tail. So that is called what? Cauda equina. Do you understand? It is about the spinal cord. Okay, it is one of the long, slender, cylindrical nervous tissue which is present in the inside of the vertebral column. It is covered by the membrane. That also, like a brain, it is covered by the three membrane. Okay, now we are seeing that is this one. We can say cauda quadrina. That is what? Cauda equina. Cauda equina is what? Horse tail. That is known as the phlegm terminal. That is called the otherwise called the phlegm terminal. The cauda equina is otherwise called what? Phlegm terminal. See, lumbar 1. That is here. Lumbar vertebrae 1, 2, 3. Up to lumbar 2, where we are seeing the spinal cord. After the lumbar 2 vertebrae, that look like a thick nerve fibers. These thick nerve fibers from the lumbar 3, 4, 5, because the lumbar vertebrae has a 5 vertebrae in the lumbar region. Sacral region, 3 vertebrae. Okay, up to this level, the nerve fibers are looks like a thick, that is what? Nerve roots. Thick like structure, thick bundle of the elongated nerve fibers. That one is known as what? Cauda equina. So we can say that is a phlegm terminal. Do you understand? So next, now we are want to see the cross section of the spinal cord. Cross section of the spinal. Cross section of the spinal. Now we want to see the cross section in the spinal cord. Spinal cord is elongated from the brainstem to the vertebral cord. Okay, so there are 2 regions in the cross section. We can see the 2 regions. The one region is a posterior median sulcus. Posterior median sulcus. This region we can see the posterior median sulcus. So second one, anterior median fissure. This is the anterior median fissure. So now we are seeing the cross section of the spinal cord. Cross section of the spinal cord. This is cross section of the spinal cord. Cross section of the spinal cord. So we are see the 2 regions. One is the posterior median sulcus. This region is called the posterior median sulcus. Posterior median sulcus. Okay. So another one region is called the anterior median fissure. Anterior median fissure. Okay. But there is some slight variations in between these 2 regions. In the cross section of the spinal cord, generally the same throughout its length. We are seeing that its length is what? Long, slender, no? Throughout the length, we can see that in the cross section of the spinal cord, more or less generally same. Okay, in contrast, but its the structure is contrast to the brain. Contrast to the brain. How it is contrast to the brain? The brain is covered by the we see it as a 2 region. Cortex and medulla. We already studied the brain as a 2-part region, cortex and medulla. The cortex region looks like a gray in color. I already explained in the last class. Medulla looks like a white in color. I already told what is the reason for the gray color, what is the reason for white color. Because non-myelinated neuron is present means that region is gray in color. Myelinated neuron is present means that region is white in color. I told in the brain lesson. Okay, the brain topic. So same here, the spinal cord has a gray matter as well as the white matter. Gray matter as well as the white matter. See, In the brain, the gray matter you are seeing the cortex region, that is outer region. White matter you can see the inner region, that is medulla region. But in the spinal cord, the gray matter is present in the inner region. The gray matter is present in the inner region, opposite to the gray. Inner region. And white matter is present in the outer region. The white matter is present in the outer region. White matter is present in the outer region. Do you understand? The spinal cord has a two region. The two region we are taking is the two region also somewhat contrast to the brain, because the spinal cord has a gray matter inside and white matter outside. So the spinal cord forms butterfly-like structure. See this one, butterfly-like structure. It shows the butterfly-like structure. Okay, what is the structure shape? Butterfly-shaped region. The gray matter. Now, where the gray matter is present, the gray matter is present the inside of the spinal cord. So the gray matter consists. That means inside of the spinal cord consists of. The gray matter consists of normal. That means what? Neural. Normal here we are saying what? Neural cell bodies. Neural cell bodies. Dendrites. Interneuron, glial cells, interneuron and glial cells. Do you understand? The gray matter is in spinal cord. The gray matter is present in the inside of the region. Okay, this gray matter consists of neural cell bodies, dendrites, interneuron, and glial cells. Okay, the white matter is present. The white matter is present in the outer part of the spinal cord. That means outer region is as a what? White matter. This white matter consists of bundle of nerves. This white matter consists of bundle of nerves. Bundle of nerves. Do you understand? What is a region? That is what are the things are present or what are the cells are present in the cortex and that is what? Gray matter as well as the white matter. In the center of the gray matter, this region. In the center of the gray matter as a central canal. It has a central canal. See this region. It is what? Center of the gray matter. It is one of the round the body-like structure that is called the central canal. That is known as central canal. This central canal is filled with the fluid that is known as the CSF. CSF. CSF means what? Cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid. Cerebrospinal fluid. Do you understand? That is a cross section of the spinal cord. So, how many regions in the spinal cord? Two regions. What are the name of the two regions? Posterior median sulcus. This is called what? Posterior median sulcus. The second one is called the anterior median fissure. So, like this structure, so it is called the fissure. Anterior median fissure. So, but there is, we can see the somewhat variation. The cross section of the spinal cord generally present all over the is what? Generally the same throughout its length. The spinal cord has a two matter, that is two part, gray matter as well as the white matter. The inner region is inner side as a gray matter and outer side as a white matter. So it looks like what the spinal cord gives a butterfly shaped region. That means what? The spinal cord gives a butterfly shaped region. The gray matter consists of neural cell bodies, dendrites, interneuron, and glial cells. At the same time, the white matter consists of bundle of nerve fibers. In the center of the gray matter, there is one of the round-shaped structure is present that is called the central canal, which is filled with the fluid that is known as the CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. The gray matter divided. The inside gray matter is present. No, this gray matter divided into two. That is three. Also, we can say one is the dorsal arm. That looks like a what? Horn. This shape is called a horn. That is called the dorsal arm. Next one is the ventral arm. This lower part is called the ventral arm. Okay. So next one, lateral arms. Next another one part is present that is called the lateral arms. So how many that is part divided into how many parts? The gray matter is divided into dorsal horn, ventral horn, and lateral horn. Lateral horn. Do you understand? That's one of the 5-mark question. We explain about the cross section of the spinal cord. You want to draw this diagram and explain about the gray matter, white matter, or the different type of the horns. Dorsal horn, ventral horn, and lateral horn. Okay. The dorsal horn. That dorsal horn. This is a spinal cord. We are making the that is a cross section. That diagram only this one. Okay. So here I given this what different type of the vertebrae. Okay. So up to the lumbar vertebrae only the spinal cord extend. After the lumbar vertebrae, it making the nerve bundles. That only known as what cauda equina. That looks like a horse. After the end of the cauda equina, the nerve fibers are becoming very thin. That is known as the plum terminae. That is called what plum terminae. Now, how many horns are present there? 3 horns. One is the dorsal horn, ventral horn, and the lateral horn. Okay. The dorsal horn contain the cell bodies. That means what? Cell bodies of the internal horn. Cell bodies means what? Cytosol. That only we are saying the cell bodies. The dorsal horn consists of cell bodies. Cell bodies of internal horn. Cell bodies of the internal horn. Interneuron. Okay. These are attached to the nervous terminae. These are attached. Or these are making the what? Afferent nerve terminates. Afferent neurons. So remember this one, afferent. Which one? Dorsal horn. Dorsal horn contains the cell body of the interneurons on which afferent neurons terminate. That means enter in the dorsal horn. Which one? Afferent neuron. Do you know what is afferent neuron? The neuron which is carrying the stimulus from the sense organ to the brain. That neurons are known as the afferent neurons, or otherwise known as the sensory neuron. You already that one more. Afferent neuron or the sensory neuron. The neuron which is carrying the stimulus from the sense organ to the brain. That is called the afferent neuron. These afferent neurons are terminates in the dorsal horn. Terminates in the dorsal horn. That means here this is a dorsal horn. This is that is what the afferent neuron. So this afferent neuron, that is sensory neuron or the afferent neuron. The sensory neuron terminate in the gray. That is what dorsal. That is it. Dorsal horn. Do you understand? The gray matter is a dorsal horn, ventral horn. Do you understand? So the afferent neuron, that is which one? The sensory neuron terminates in the dorsal horn. Terminates in the dorsal. That means it ended in the dorsal horn. The ventral horns contain the cell bodies of efferent neuron. Cell bodies of what? Efferent neuron. That what we call the motor neurons. Do you know what is efferent neuron? The neuron which is carrying the stimulus from the brain to the sense organ. That is called the efferent neuron. Okay, that means the ventral horn contains the cell bodies of the efferent motor neuron. Do you understand? The one more question. See, here the dorsal horn contains the what? Cell bodies, as well as the afferent neurons are terminated in the dorsal horn. The ventral horn we are taking is the ventral horn contains the cell bodies of the efferent motor neurons. Efferent neurons only, otherwise called the motor neurons. Lateral horns. Third one, what is lateral horns? These lateral horns contain autonomic nerves. Autonomic nerves. Autonomic nerves fibers. Autonomic nerve fibers and cardiac and smooth muscles. Cardiac and smooth muscles. And exocrine glands. Exocrine glands. The nerves which are coming from the cardiac muscle and smooth muscle and exocrine gland that are terminated in the lateral horns. That are terminated in the lateral horns. Do you understand? So how many horns are present there in the spinal cord? 3. Dorsal horn, ventral horn, and lateral horn. Dorsal horn we are taking means the dorsal horn contains sensory neuron. That is what? Afferent neuron. The ventral horns contain the efferent neuron or motor neurons. The lateral horn contains autonomic nerve fibers, cardiac and smooth muscle fibers, and exocrine glands. That is the nerves that is terminated, that is carrying the stimulus from the exocrine gland and terminated in the lateral neuron. Do you understand? So now, next one. Ascending tract and descending tract. Next one. I already told there is a two type of the neuron, sensory neuron and motor neuron. I told no. The sensory neuron, motor neuron we are taking it. What is meant by sensory neuron? The sensory neuron only, otherwise known as what? Apparent neuron. Sensory neuron is otherwise called what? Afferent neuron. Okay. Neuron. What neuron? Efferent neuron. Do you understand? The sensory neuron terminate in the dorsal arms, and the efferent neurons are terminate in the ventral neurons. We already know that one. Now, which carry the sensory impulses to the brain? Which neuron carry the impulses to the brain? The sensory neuron carry the impulses to the brain. That is, the tract is known as the ascending tract. The tract is known as, tract means what? Way. That is called the ascending tract. Ascending tract. Do you understand? The stimulus which is carrying from the sense organ to the brain, the tract is known as the ascending tract. That is carried by the sensory neuron. Next one. The motor, that is the impulses that carried by the motor neuron. That is called the descending tract. That is known as what? Descending tract. Descending tract. That is the stimulus carried to the brain. Suppose this one brain. This is a sense organ. From the sense organ, the stimulus are carried to the brain. That tract is known as the ascending tract. That is called what? Ascending tract. That neuron only we are saying the sensory neuron. That impulse is only known as the sensory impulses. Sensory impulses carried by the sensory neuron from the sense organ to the brain. That tract is known as the ascending tract. The impulses carried from the brain to the sense organ by neuron, that is called the motor neuron. Motor neuron. That impulses are known as the motor impulses. That impulses are called the motor impulses. The motor impulses carried from the brain to the spine, that is a sensory organ, through the motor neuron. That tract is, we are saying, the descending tract. That is called what? Descending tract. That is coming from brain to the sensor. That tract is known as the descending tract. Do you understand? So in the spinal cord, we can see there two enlargement. See? See in the diagram, we can see the two enlargement here in the vertebral column. So first one we can see in the neck region. The second one we can see in the lumbar region. So the neck region, the enlargement is known as a cervical enlargement. Cervical enlargement. Cervical enlargement. In the lumbar region, we can see the one that is a enlargement. That is called the lumbosacral enlargement. See in the vertebral column, we can see the two enlargement. So one is the cervical enlargement. Another one is known as the lumbosacral enlargement. Lumbosacral enlargement. Sacral enlargement. Okay, how many enlargement we can see in the vertebral column? Two enlargement. One is the cervical enlargement. Another one is the lumbosacral enlargement. So this region is called the cervical region. This region is known as what? Cervical region. This region is known as the lumbosacral region. Lumbosacral region. This enlargement, which enlargement? The cervical enlargement, no, that serves the upper limb. That serves the upper limb. The lower, that is lumbar enlargement, that serves the lower limb. Lower limb. Upper limb means hands. Lower limb means legs. Okay. So the spinal cord shows the spinal cord totally shows the two enlargement. One is the cervical region, another one is the lumbosacral region. We can see the two enlargement. So that we can see in the cervical region one, another one is the lumbosacral region. The cervical region, as know, that enlargement is known as cervical enlargement. In the lumbosacral region, as a enlargement is known as lumbosacral enlargement. Okay, this cervical enlargement serves the upper limb. The lumbosacral enlargement serves the lower limb. Okay, so this is about the spinal cord. Okay, next one. Reflex action. Next topic is what? Reflex action. Reflex action. See, next one, reflex action and reflex arc. Next topic is the reflex action and reflex arc. First, we want to see about reflex action. The spinal cord connecting the nervous structure in between the brain and the effector organ. The spinal cord connecting nervous structure in between the brain and the effector organ. In between the brain and the effector organ. So it is a spinal cord. It is a sense organ. Okay, it is a sense organ. See, it is a sense organ. This one is spinal cord. Okay, so the spinal cord only connecting the nervous structure in between the brain and effector organs and the effector organs. This is, we can see the effector organs, which is giving the connection in between the brain and the effector organs, the spinal cord. When dust falls in our eyes, for example, I'm saying when dust falls in our eyes, the eyelids close immediately, not waiting for our willingness. On touching, suppose we are touching a hot pan, the hand is withdrawn rapidly. We are withdraw our hand quickly. These are very quick response because we are rapidly withdrawing our hand because of there is a more hot. So the very quick response we need. So the spinal cord can effector motor initiation as a brake. So the spinal cord itself doing the function like a brake and brings about the effect. We understand every action we are getting the information from the brain. But in the quick reaction, so that we want to do very immediately, in that condition, the spinal cord is doing that action like our brain. That is called the reflex action. We understand? Instead of the brain, the spinal cord is taking that response and giving the reaction. That is called the reflex action. We understand? The spinal cord only connecting the nervous structure between the brain as well as the effector organs. Okay, so we need a very quick response. In that condition, the spinal cord making the what motor initiation as a brain and bring about the effect. We understand that is called the reflex action. That means the rapid action by spinal cord. The rapid means what? Very quick action. The rapid action by the spinal cord by the spinal cord is called the reflex action. That is one of the definition for the reflex action. So the spinal cord not waiting for the action of the brain. So for the some circumstances, we need the quick response. In that condition, the spinal cord is taking action like a brain. So that is called the reflex action. The rapid action by spinal cord is called the reflex action. Do you understand? In this place, everything is taken by the spinal cord. Okay. For the one, I given the example, two example. When the dust falls in our eyes, the eyelids are closed immediately. In the time, the eyelids are getting the information from the spinal cord, not from the brain. Okay. At the same way, whenever we are touching the box or hot pan or hot that is hot water, so quickly we are withdrawn our hand. That also taken by the reaction also, the reaction also given by the spinal cord. Because these are immediate reactions. These immediate reactions are given by the spinal cord. That type of the action is we are seeing them reflex action. Next, the reflex actions are very fast action. That is a characteristic of the reflex action. It is one of the very fast as well as the involuntary action. This is what the involuntary action and unplanned action. Unplanned action. Because the action is not given by the water, the information is not coming from the brain. It is directly taken by the spinal cord. So only this action is what? Very fast, involuntary, and unplanned action. Unplanned action. The nervous elements involved in carrying out of the reflex action. See, the nervous elements involved in carrying out of the reflex action, that is called the reflex arm. That is known as what? Reflex arm. See in this diagram about the reflex arm. See, this is a reflex arm. That means the pathway. Reflex arm means what? The pathway. The pathway followed by a nerve impulses. By a nerve impulse. The nerve impulse to produce a reflex action. Produce a reflex action. Produce a reflex action is called the reflex arm. Do you understand? The reflex action carried by through the path. That path only known as the reflex arm. What is the difference between the reflex action and the reflex arm? Reflex action means what? The reflex action means the rapid action by the spinal cord is called the reflex action. Reflex arm means the pathway followed by a nerve impulse to produce the reflex action. That means the reflex action is carried by through the what? One path. That path only known as what? Reflex arm. Do you understand? That is one of the 3 mark questions. Differentiate between the reflex action as well as the reflex arm. Okay. What is reflex action? The rapid action by the spinal cord. That means the action takes place by the spinal cord, not by the brain. That is called the reflex action. The reflex action is one of the fast action. That also involuntary, unplanned action. Okay. These actions carried through the one pathway. That is the pathway followed by a nerve impulse to produce the reflex action is called the reflex arm. Okay. Now, functions of the or components of the reflex arm. What are the things that takes place this in the pathway of the that is reflex action carried? Okay. The first one, sensory receptor. First one, sensory receptor. Sensory receptor. The second one, sensory neuron. Sensory neuron. Third one, interneurons. Interneurons. Fourth one, motor neurons. Next one, effector neurons. You understand? These are the components of the reflex arm. One of 3 mark questions. What are the components of the reflex arm? You know what is reflex arm? The pathway followed by a nerve impulses to produce the reflex action is called the reflex arm. So what are the components of the reflex arm? One is the sensory receptor, second sensory neuron, third interneuron, fourth motor nerve, and Fifth one, that is a effector neurons. So 5 components are there in the reflex arc. The first one, sensory receptor. Sensory receptor means it is carrying the sensory structure. This one is sensory receptor. It carries the sensory structure. It only responds for the specific stimulus. Specific stimulus. Okay, this stimulus carried from the sensory organ to the spinal cord. Okay, next sensory neuron. This neuron take the sensory impulses to the gray matter. To the gray matter, I already told you. That means what? Dorsal arm. Dorsal arm. The dorsal arm terminated with the sensory neuron. Okay, so the gray matter of the spinal cord through the dorsal root of the spinal cord. This root is known as what? Dorsal root. That root is known as what? Dorsal root. Next, interneuron. Next, it is moving inside. This is called the interneuron. The neuron transmits the impulses from the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. The interneuron only sending the impulses or transmitting the impulses from the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. Now this motor neuron. This neuron is called what? Motor neuron. The motor neuron transmits the impulses from the CNS to the effector. This is a effector. This neuron only carries the stimulus from the spinal cord to the effector organs. The effector organs, it may muscles or gland which responds to the impulses received. Then only these muscles are giving what response after receiving the stimulus from the spine. So this tract, this way, transmission way, this only known as the reflex arc. Do you understand? So how many components are involved in the reflex arc? 5 components. One is the sensory receptor. That means this is a sensory receptor region. From the sensory receptor, the stimulus are carried by the sensory neuron. Then it is entered to the gray matter of the spinal cord. There interneurons are present. Those interneurons are transmitting the impulses from the stimuluses from the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. Next, the motor neuron carry the stimulus to the effector organs. The effector organs are giving the response to the stimulus which is carried from the spinal cord. Do you understand? Now, we want to see the different type of the reflexes. We know about what is reflex action and what is about the reflex arc. So, what is meant by reflex action? What is meant by reflex action? The rapid action by the spinal cord is called the reflex action. What is meant by reflex arc? The reflex arc means what? The pathway followed by a nerve impulses to produce a reflex action is called the reflex arc. Okay. Now we are going to see about the different type of the reflex actions. That is types of the reflex. Types of reflex. Types of reflex. Types of reflex. Okay, so first, it is what inborn reflex. Types of reflex we are taking. There is a 2 type of the reflex. One is the unconditional reflex, another one is the conditional reflex. There are 2 types of the reflex. One is known as the unconditional reflex, another one is the conditional reflex. Okay, so what is unconditional reflex? This unconditional reflex is the inborn reflex. It is called what? Inborn reflex. Unconditional reflex is known as what? Inborn reflex. Because this for an unconditional stimulus. Unconditional stimulus. Unconditional stimulus. The 4 diagram See, reflex we are taking is 2 types of the reflex I told. One is the Unconditional reflex, others what is the conditional reflex? Very important question for NEET as well as the theory. This one. Differentiate between the unconditional reflex and conditional reflex. First one, unconditional reflex. It is a inborn reflex for an unconditional stimulus. It is a one of the what? Inborn reflex. It's an unconditional stimulus. It does not need any past experience. It does not need any past experience as well as the knowledge or training or anything. It does not need a past experience. For example, we can say the unconditional response. See here, I given the differentiation in between the unconditional response and the conditional response. Unconditional response is what? Inborn reflexes for an unconditional stimulus. It does not need any past experience, knowledge, training, anything. It does not need. For example, blinking of the eye. When a dust fall in eyes. When a dust fall in our eyes, we are automatically quickly we are making what blinking on the eye. Next, sneezing, coughing, because due to the what? Entering the dust through the nose or larynx, or any other foreign particles are entering the nose or that is a larynx, throat. So automatically we are making what? Sneezing and coughing. These are the one type of the reflex that is called the unconditional reflex. It's called what? Unconditional reflex. Do you understand? For example, another example also we can see withdrawing our hand when you touch the hand. Because we are not really expecting the information we need from the brain. Automatically all the information for this time we are getting from the spinal cord very quickly, very immediately. So these are the unconditional reflex. So what are the characteristics of the unconditional reflex? One is the inborn reflex for an unconditional stimulus. Second one, it does not need any past experience, knowledge or training or any other things. For example, I given here only one example, but another two examples you can take the clear book. One is the blinking of an eye when a dust fall in the eyes. Next, another one example, sneezing, coughing due to dust entering in the nose or larynx. Another one example I given here, withdrawing the hand when you touch the fire. Okay, so these all the things are basically present in all individuals. These characteristics are basically present in all individuals. Okay, so these are the unconditional reflex. It is not what they are inherited, shown from the birth itself. You can see these are the characters from the birth. So that is called the unconditional reflex. Okay, next one, conditioned reflex. So it is a response to stimulus. It is a response to stimulus. That means each and every response we are giving each and every stimulus we are giving the response. So it is a response to stimulus. They are not inherited. These are learned only by doing our daily life activities. It is not naturally occurring. Only through the experience it can occur. Only through the experience it can occur. That means these have to be learned by the organism through the activities. It is not same in all individuals. It's not same in all individuals because it's not a inborn character. So it is not same in all individuals. For example, we can say this one, secretion of the salivary gland. Salivary gland secreting what? The salivary gland secreting the saliva. So the saliva when secreting when we are seeing the food or smelling the food. So automatically when we are seeing the pickles, automatically the salivary gland is secreting. It's secreting what? Saliva. Okay, this is called the conditional because that is your object is that. So whenever we are seeing the object, automatically our organs are doing the what? Function. That means our sense organs are giving the function. For example, for standing in attention when you are hearing the national anthem. When you are hearing the national, whenever we are hearing the national anthem, we are standing in the attention position. Okay, that is called the conditional reflex. Okay, because it is we are giving a response to the stimulus. The conditional reflex was first demonstrated by the one scientist, that means one physiologist. That physiologist, Russian physiologist. Name was Pavlov. One of the it was Pavlov. The conditional reflex. This conditional reflex was first demonstrated by Russian physiologist. Name was Pavlov. He conducted his experiment with the help of the dog. So only that is experiment is known as what? called the conditional reflex. Conditional reflexes. So it is not a inborn reflex movement. So whenever we are seeing the particular object or particular things or particular, that is what the food or otherwise smell of the food or anything, so that time automatically our sense organs will do the function. That function we are getting from the what action of the brain. So that is called the conditional reflex. So okay, so see in this diagram, it is an unconditional response. Here conditional, that is what conditional response. See first one. The unconditional stimulus, we are giving the food, keeping the food there. Unconditional response. Okay. So whenever we are giving the bell, after we are providing the food, automatically the saliva is what? Secreted. See this one, unconditional response, unconditional stimulus. So we are giving the bell, there is no food at all. The dog is not giving any response. Do you understand? There is no food, only bell is there. Here food is there, so automatically the dog is seeing the food. That is unconditional stimulus. Automatically the dog is seeing the food and producing the saliva. That is called the unconditional response. Do you understand? Unconditional response we are taking means there is a food is there, so automatically seeing the food is producing what? Saliva. That is one of the bond characters. Suppose we are keeping the bell and giving the bell, that is a neutral stimulus, but there is no response. Okay. During the condition time, we are keeping the food as far as we are giving the bell, ringing the bell. Automatically, see the food itself is producing what? Saliva. That is called the unconditional response. So we are not keeping the food, but we are giving the practice. That our dog is getting the practice in that condition. So whenever we are ringing the bell, automatically the saliva will produce. That is called the conditional response. That is known as a conditional stimulus. There is no food at all. Ringing the bell. So hearing the sound, automatically the saliva is producing from the mouth. So that is called the conditional response. So it is one of the classical example for the conditional reflexes. Okay, that was given by the Pavlov. He was a Russian physiologist. Okay, so anyway, the cerebral cortex controls them. Which is controlling the cerebral cortex. Cerebral cortex controls the conditional reflex. Which one is control the reflex, conditional reflex? The cerebral cortex controls the conditional reflex. Okay, do you understand? If you have any doubt, next class you ask me, ma. Okay, thank you, ma. Thank you, everybody. You bring on diagrams.